Thank you everyone for joining us this evening and welcome to our webinar this evening. Also, thank you to the CQI for having us here today. So this evening, we're going to discuss our recent findings from the Quality and Market and Salary Insights report. So we sent out a survey end of last year, and the report was actually published in February this year. So it's very recent data. We will be discussing average salaries, hybrid working, job satisfaction, aspirations, gender and diversity as well. So I'm going to start off by introducing myself. So for those that don't know me, my name is Jess. I support businesses in hiring quality professionals. I've been specialising in the recruitment of quality professionals for around 6 years. I'm also involved with the CQI in some current projects at the moment. I'll pass you over to my colleagues as well, starting with Jordan, so he can introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jordan Harlow, the organizational psychology consultant at Shirley Parsons. I mainly do talent and people-focused consulting, how to build teams, run psychometric tests, and get insights into a lot of companies. I've been doing that for almost 2 years now with Shirley Parsons, and prior to that, working in communications internationally.
Don't think we could hear you.
Yeah, I can't see. I've got the script and the slideshow up. Ben?
Ben's on mute.
Okay.
There we go. Hi, my name's Ben. I'm one of the company directors, and I started the renewables part of Shirley Parsons 11 years ago, which has now got a presence in all of the countries that we have an office. I've been working in HSEQ for nearly 16 years now, and 11 of those have been at Shirley Parsons.
Omar?
Hi, I'm Omar, guys. So I work with Jessica here in the quality team, and I focus on the candidate side of the business. So my main responsibilities include expanding our network and nurturing existing relationships and helping candidates assisting in their career planning.
The presentation we anticipate will probably last around 20 to 30 minutes. And at the end, there will be a Q&A session as well. So please drop in your questions, like Jack said, throughout the webinar. There will also be a QR code at the end of today's session. So if you haven't already downloaded the report, you can do so then. Next slide. So Shirley Parsons, who are we? What do we do? So we are a global HSEQ careers consultancy. Shirley Parsons herself is actually a chartered health and safety professional. We've been in business for about 20 years and we have 150 staff globally. Our head office is based in Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire, and we have expanded globally into the USA, Europe, Asia, and most recently Australia and New Zealand. Omar just said, so Omar and I, we specialise in the placement of quality and audit professionals in the UK. That's both on a contract and permanent basis. We cover a wide range of different sectors. The main ones that we focus on: construction, civil engineering, infrastructure, of course, nuclear and defence, manufacturing, certification, and everything else in between. The typical job titles that we would recruit are quality engineers, quality advisors, quality managers, senior quality managers, quality systems engineers or managers, auditors, heads of and director of quality. So in terms of if you hire quality professionals and need advice on the market, I'm your person to speak to regarding that. If you're a candidate in the market looking at exploring options, that's Omar. And I'm going to pass you over now to Jordan, who's going to begin the webinar. Also, just for your own information, Jordan is actually the man behind the data here as well. So he'll probably have some really good insights for you. So Jordan, would you like to take over?
Yeah, of course. So to begin with, one of the most common questions we get whenever we do any kind of market insights research into sort of satisfaction, salary, and everything else is, when do people actually anticipate looking for a new role? And now, whether you're Veruca Salt, you want it right now, let's change slide, or if it takes a lot longer than that, the data tends to show that the majority of people are essentially looking at moving within the next year, with 30% of those people looking at moving now or within 6 months. So there is quite a sizable portion of people actually actively looking for a new role, with the other half of those individuals actually steadfast in where they are at the moment. Next slide. And The next most important thing to actually look at is what factors are the most important when actually considering a new position. So whether you're hiring or whether you're looking at moving into a new company, one of the most common things, is it all about the money? Is the money the most important factor? Our data actually shows that salary only came in fourth place. So with salary being in fourth place, we actually found that it's actually all about culture, management style, and work content in terms of what actually motivates people and gets them thinking when they're looking at their next position, putting salaries on the back burner of situations. And following up from that, we actually have the dissatisfaction. So as much as we can talk about what is most important to people, it's important to actually look at what the issues in the industry at the moment are. And what we found was that most people were actually dissatisfied with their bonus scheme. Now, alongside that data, most people aren't really receiving a bonus scheme, but it is an element of dissatisfaction for most. Opportunities for career progression and training and development are also very common causes of dissatisfaction. So if you're looking at retention and especially expanding your team, it's important to keep those elements in mind because people don't want to feel like they're stuck in a certain position or place for an extended period of time. And who is the most satisfied? It's quite a funny stat to look at because between the stresses of higher level positions and the sort of energy of coming into an industry, we found quite an interesting data for this set. You can show that. But you've actually found directors were actually the most satisfied in this data set, sitting just above practitioners. Now, whether that be because they're quite comfortable, whether it be because they have quite a bit of experience in dealing with individuals, they came out as the most satisfied. Practitioners on the other end of the experience scale were also quite satisfied, and that usually comes from the fact that it's people happy to either get their first job or it's individuals moving into something new and exciting. And of course, with that sort of manager and senior manager level, having a lot of the stress and focus put on them, dragging that satisfaction down quite commonly. Yep.
Sorry, Jordan, it's just being a bit slow, that's all.
No worries. And this is actually a quite an interesting bit of data we collected this year, which was the percentage of home working allowed for individuals and how that correlated to general satisfaction. Now, this satisfaction, I forgot to mention, was measured on a 1 to 10 scale, and we took the averages for the scores. And what we found was that individuals with high levels of home working, at least 26% and higher, were in that sort of significantly more satisfied stage. Individuals with no homeworking at all were actually quite a bit more dissatisfied than those who had it. So it's important to find that right balance with your team. Now, going by sector, what we found was that the most satisfied sectors are actually utilities, professional services, and MEP civils. The least satisfied, being a whole 2 points under, is automotive, highways, and retail. Now, that tends to be a sort of a trend amongst different sectors, but we have the data here and in the full report for you to check where you sit amongst the other sectors for that. And it might go without saying, it might be obvious to many, but satisfaction and retention rate are hand in hand. Now, what we found was that individuals who want to leave now, they don't want to be in their current position at all, tend to be about a 4.3 on the satisfaction, compared to individuals who are much higher on satisfaction, looking at moving 1 year or plus when it comes to that. So it might go without saying, but it is a statistic that's important to know and gives credence to the fact that it's important to actually maintain development of your staff to keep that retention rate. And I'll hand that back to Jess to walk through the salaries now.
Thank you, Jordan. Yes, we will discuss the salaries next. As you can see in red, we have average salaries from 2019 versus in blue, average salaries from 2024 this year. Practitioner level would be your quality engineers, quality advisory level, managers / specialists. So that would include your roles such as like auditors. Now we have senior managers and then we have directors on here as well. I would probably position yourself if you're ahead of in between those two. So benchmark yourself there. It's clear to see that's been a significant increase since 2019. We've also added in grey the UK average salary. This data was taken from Glassdoor, so I think I noted that the manager looks quite low, but this is data from Glassdoor and includes the average manager at retail, shops, etc. You name it, every industry. You can see generally a career in quality is well paid, which is a positive to see. And then hopefully this information here as well can help you benchmark yourself as well against the profession. Average salaries per sector. So we tried to cover all the sectors as best as we could. We can see that commercial construction, energy, oil and gas coming in at the top. No surprise really there as well, coming just shy of 70,000 on an average salary. Coming in at the lower end, just over the 50k mark, we have food and healthcare. I would actually agree with both of these statements. I'm sure Omar would as well. We definitely come across this in our day-to-day, that these industries being at the lower level paid sectors. There was a question that came in before the webinar today about sector pay and what is the best sector in terms of salary. So hopefully this answers that question. Then we have current average salary versus expected salary for a new position in 2024. So we asked, what salary increase would you expect in your next career move? This came back at 21.9%. So that's actually, it's quite high. It's higher than our health and safety expected salary increase. So in grey, you can see the average salaries at present, and then versus in blue, what people would expect for a new position. So if you are a hiring manager, in order to attract new talent, we should be looking at the figures in blue. So, for example, if you're looking to hire a senior quality manager, you would want to set the basic salary around the 85k mark to really attract new talent and get them on board. What I find in my role, most candidates that we speak with usually are looking for anywhere between a £5,000 to £10,000 increase on their basic salary for a move, and that's actually regardless of a step up in position. To make a move, obviously there's risks involved, especially with the cost of living and everything these days. People are looking for that amount, so you have to factor in the bonuses and cars that come with it as well, of course. Gender diversity, so we can see here 76% of the quality profession are males and then 24% females. Probably no surprises there to people that are watching. This has been quite a trend for many years. And the figures back in 2019 are exactly the same, 76% male versus 24% female. So there's been zero change on that front. Here is a breakdown of the gender by job titles and seniority. So we can see that most females working in the manager or specialist area. Again, I would probably agree with this on the day-to-day that of speaking with professionals. And surprisingly, there's only one female director for every 11 male directors. Finally, I'm going to pass you over to Jordan to discuss the last slide on here, and then we will open it up for a Q&A.
So with the look into the gender pay gap within the quality sector, in 2019, that pay gap was 18%, which was quite large, above the national average. Now it's actually about 5%, which does put the quality sector as one of the more equal sectors in the UK, right there with health and safety, actually. And when we actually look at how small that is, we do have to give the fact that there's not a lot of women in the industry that we can collect that data from. You can just tap it to bring up the other bit. So as you can see, for certain elements such as director and manager, women were earning more on average in our data. The issue is that because they are so underrepresented in the total data set, it does cause fluctuations by level, in average, things like that. So we did come out with that 5% at the end, but you do have to look at it by level. And one of the important elements to bring up there is that this is a fairly equal paying industry. So you might ask yourself, why aren't more women moving into the industry? And that's something probably a bit too complex to get into here on this webinar, but it's something important to ask yourself, whether it be the culture of the business, the culture of the team, or just the way that things are advertised. But yeah, covers just about everything there.
Okay, Jack.
Yeah.
Shall I keep? I can't see any of the questions coming in. So is it all right if I just close this slightly and then if I come back to the screen?
Yeah. There's one question in the chat I'll pick out. Lee asks, if you want to transition to a role that's 100% work from home, what is the best sector and role to target?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Most.
I personally, my view is there isn't very many purely working from home positions, mainly hybrid working roles. So I would say editing roles they tend to be hybrid, but that also comes with a lot of travel involved as well. So it's that work-life balance. Remote working roles, I'll be completely honest, I really don't work on completely working positions, although I have spoken to people in the market who do have these remote positions, and they tend to be roles that are overseas, and they tend to be doing more like quality administration for the business in the UK. Does anybody else want to add to that, Omar or Ben? Do you come across that at all?
I agree with you on that as well. So having spoken to candidates and obviously being out on the job market, there's not many out there that are remote. Like you said, certification is home-based, but it's not remote. You are traveling quite a bit, like Jessica mentioned, but a lot of it is hybrid that we come across.
Are you seeing, just out of interest, are you seeing more roles come over the border? So people looking to hire within Europe with these sort of work from home roles, hybrid, so work from London and then travel into Europe?
Yes, there is, like global or European positions that we work on that require those elements of travel, especially like within the supply chain as well. But it's role depending, I would say. I don't know if there's more of those coming on, but I guess obviously with the changes with Brexit involved, there's definitely people traveling overseas to visit their supply chains. It's very role dependent, though, in my opinion.
Industry as well, I think. Yeah. Industry plays a big part in that.
Okay.
So Ben heads up the renewables desk for quality. So like the majority of his work is overseas. So we're talking Asia and Europe as well. So those types of roles, they're based out there as well.
Yeah, we have offices across Germany, Netherlands and Denmark as well in Europe. And since Brexit, and to be honest, since COVID as well, the focus on who's moving around what country and why has increased an awful lot. Brexit aside, a number of European countries have tightened the regulations for working, how you work, with new registrations so they know how it's happening. Since Brexit, obviously, there are certain rules in place that allow you to go for business meetings or training, but working as a UK worker abroad for actually carrying out work in Europe without a work permit isn't possible legally. That's not to say some of the rules aren't sometimes slightly opaque, such as the training rule and meeting rule, but we don't see that much. We'll see a lot of audits take place at suppliers. So the largest sector we support is within renewables, on and offshore wind. So obviously they've got manufacturing hubs across the world. So we'll see a lot of supplier audits take place, which is perfectly legitimate. And then in terms of work from home, there is a particular role that would be basically overseeing processing and logging the non-conformance reports. There is a completely remote role within on and offshore wind with very occasional trips to a site.
So that sounds like an option for Lee then. Just while we're on this international work, these kind of roles, are they mostly leaning towards like permanent employment or contractual with working abroad?
From my perspective, quite a mix. Obviously, Saudi Arabia has offered a large amount of work with the NEOM project, amongst others, which has seen a huge number of opportunities. Our colleagues over in Australia at the moment are actually being asked to target UK citizens that are willing to relocate for a mega project over there. But it's quite dependent on the projects. For shorter construction projects or specialist sort of packages within a project, you might find contracting is probably the larger part. But for the likes of Australia and the Middle East, we see probably more permanent roles. And part of that's just the nature of how they're used to engaging with workers over there.
Right. And I suppose it's good for their stability as well to have someone permanent. Okay. A question from Gonzalo. Do those average values shown include bonuses and perks?
I think they do they, Jordan? We did ask about bonuses, I think, but I don't think they include the bonuses in the data. You're on mute, Jordan.
Sorry, you're on mute.
So easy to have that happen. The average salary doesn't include, say, bonuses or perks or any other inclusions like that. It was just base annual salary.
Okay. It seems like salary is a big one in the industry. Is there much, does it vary that much with companies? Do most companies offer bonuses at the moment, or is it like performance based, or is it non-existent? What do you see practically?
It varies by employer. I wouldn't say you could distinguish it by sector as such, but maybe just by the employer. It's usually bonuses. Other than there's a few principal contractors I work with that do offer bonuses at engineer advisors from advisory level upwards. But I think I probably find that bonuses, performance related bonuses, come in around quality manager level. And it varies. Does everybody offer them? No, is the answer. But I would probably say in the senior leadership positions, yes, I'd say 80% you do see a bonus.
Okay. And in terms of closing the loop, have you had an opportunity, or is there a platform to feed this back into businesses? Or you obviously work closely with certain businesses, I guess, this information around bonuses, and they'll take this on board when they're structuring their packages?
Yeah, obviously I can advise. Recently, I've been advised to discuss what the market looks like and what's good for a bonus in this current day and age. But again, it really does vary. So, for example, some employers may offer a pretty basic, and then they may offer a bonus. So you have to think of the whole package with the basic. With the bonus and a car allowance as well is a huge difference. If you're offering a car or a car allowance, I've had situations where candidates are currently being offered a car or a car allowance, but the next opportunity that they want to take does not offer that, and that puts them in a bit of a sticky situation because they then need to go out and purchase a car themselves.
Right. Okay. We've got a question from Lo relating to the actual survey. So he says that the data is in a percentage form. So what is the number of data received for this report? So I guess the number of participants, maybe.
For this data set, we had 458 participants for the survey.
Okay. Okay, so Jonathan Bishop's got a question here. So interesting in getting into contracting, or he's interested in getting into contracting for development of integrated management systems. I know Jonathan leads the IMS SIG, the CQI, and fixing systems which are broken. What are the typical day rates?
Okay, so just to clarify, so that's contracting for what type of role?
For developing integrated management systems. So looking at health and safety, quality, and the environmental management systems.
Yeah. So contracting for that, again, it would vary, but if again on the inside or outside IR35 status would play a part in that. But again, that's essentially a quality consultant role coming in to look at the QMS or the integrated management system for a business on a dependent contract, in a 6 to 12 month contract. Again, location would play a part. I think London, you're looking to add on anywhere between £50 to £70 per day for London. But roughly, I'd say around the 500 mark, 450, 500 mark. And again, it depends. If you've been a contractor for some time, your rates tend to be slightly higher than someone who's coming into contract work and looking to get the work and then build up their portfolio. Contract and perm are very, very different breeds, really.
Do you come across these roles often where companies looking to hire someone for 6 to 12 months to implement a integrated management system? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would say that here at Shirley Parsons, we probably work 60% of our opportunities come in are permanent and 40% are contract in my desk. That may vary. For example, Ben may do more on the contract side. But I think another question that was asked prior to the webinar was, is contract or perm better? Which one pays better? Which one's more popular? And the answer to that really is contract, you have daily rates and hourly rates, and these do tend to be higher than somebody in a permanent opportunity. But the reason for that is you have risk of without being employment at a certain time. You have to lodge away, be away from your family. There's longer hours involved. You have no holiday pay. You don't have any benefits as well that come with that. So the bonus or pension or anything like that, which actually, if you were to add up the benefits package, it does amount to quite a significant amount that you are getting on top. And it's down to personal preference. So obviously your current life situation, if mortgages play a part, you've got to really think if it's for you. A lot of people tend to go into contracting at the later end of their life, or as well, we have major projects in the UK at the moment. They're in some obscure locations. So there's a huge demand for contractors on those types of projects due to the location, being unable to find local staff. Yes, it's very different.
Yeah. Okay, Farhan's got a question. From your experiences, have there been any auditors, senior auditors that have transitioned from healthcare clinical industry to other industries? And what has the experience been like?
Quite specific. I haven't specifically come across that as such, but if we're talking about have auditors transitioned into other positions, yes is the answer. If you're an auditor looking at the 9,000, 14 and 41, these types of skill sets apply to systems managers positions and just general quality assurance roles as well, if there's a bias towards one.
So in terms of benchmarking the levels within a company, so if you had to transition to a different industry, do you see it happening more at the lower levels or the more senior management levels? Because I don't know how transferable it is. Obviously, you get like lead auditor courses and all these qualifications, but then you've got the practical skills behind it, technical skills.
Still think that's something that needs to be worked on within quality. I definitely find that employers within, say, a construction setting want people who come from construction, and on vice versa, manufacturing want somebody that's come from a production manufacturing setting. On the odd, we do get clients being more open and flexible on those kind of roles that are in between, maybe. So your logistics, distribution, ones that don't really have such a set focus. But yeah, no, it varies. But I do think employers are still very much closed in terms of what they're looking for in industry, like backgrounds and people.
Okay, so we've got one from Gonzalo. Which are the skills more demanded by the employers, and which ones are the ones you think are more difficult to find in the candidates?
Okay, so within quality, as we know, it's very different to health and safety, where you have a qualification that kind of benchmarks you that this is your level. We know that quality, we don't have that as such. There is obviously a quality management degree that you can do, and there is a few people that do have that. But what I find that most employers ask for as a minimum would be the lead auditor ISO 9001 certificate, preferably done by IRCA, somebody like that. And then we have, this isn't so much a skill set, but the CQI membership's coming up more and more. Being a member of the CQI is coming up significantly more because, again, that does benchmark your career as well, and it does show professional development. It depends on the position. Some employers look for example, engineering backgrounds and qualifications due to the type of works that they're doing. And again, maybe in MEP type roles as well. It depends on like the skills and background, and just it depends on the industry. But definitely ISO 9001, becoming an ISO 9001 lead auditor as a minimum, an internal auditor, just to have those qualifications to do the work.
Are you seeing more demand for, like Jonathan was saying, integrated management systems, more demand for varied management system experience, so not just quality?
Again, because Yes, so if I work with certification bodies and yes, a TIC industry, I definitely find that we're looking for candidates who have management systems experience, and that's not just specifically 9001. So I do recruit roles for management system assessors as such. So that is the integrated management systems, and then if mainly I would say most of my roles are around the 9001 system. Actually, sometimes I do find I get a few roles with quality and environmental. Some companies still like to partner these two together, I find, and they predominantly with quality at the forefront and then picking up environmental. There is those multidisciplined QHSE positions as well. And the first question I ask is quality the bias, or is health and safety the bias? And then we point them in the direction of who's the best person to lead on that. And again, it varies. I do feel the multidiscipline positions we're moving away from that actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I've seen is companies sometimes go through cycles and they'll go for one certification and then they'll build on that, group it, and then as they grow, they'll ungroup it again to create the focus. And then just on Gonzalo's question, you did pick up people requiring cultural fits. So I'm sure as much as candidates might have the skills that are demanded, I guess they'll come back out of interviews and it might not be a good fit culturally or first impressions or whatever the case.
Absolutely. Like cultures, as we saw, is most important to quality professionals. And I think I mentioned this in the report. Quality, if an organisation isn't taking quality seriously or isn't putting it at the forefront of their business, that quality professionals are very passionate people. And I feel you need to work for an organisation who can see the efforts and the work and see what good it can bring to them. Again, I think that comes back to attracting new talent into quality. If as the sector, as a profession grows more and organizations do take a serious stance on quality and put it at the front of their business, hopefully that can attract more people to the industry as well, knowing it's an imperative and important part of an organization.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we've got a question from Christopher. So he says, there's a lot of discussion on skills gap and low availability of competent workforce. Has filling vacancies be more difficult? Are we finding candidates with matching skills, or are we depending on transferable skills? Touching back on what we've covered already. Anything to add to that?
Not really. I would say
a bit of both.
Omar, did you want to say something?
Sorry, I just said it's a bit of both, really, isn't it? Depending on the roles that we work on.
Yeah, it varies. I think, there's not really much else to touch on. I think in terms of finding candidates for positions, yes, we do have candidates that do have the skill sets. And if there is a niche position, or we're not, again, could be different factors, location, salary, offerings, we then we ask the clients if they would like to explore different avenues of transferable skills. That has happened on occasions as well. We have to branch out.
Just to add to that, sorry, one thing we have seen globally, which has been quite unique at the moment, is normally when there's a downturn in any market, we find that the balance shifts from being a candidate-driven market to quite a client-driven market. And we haven't seen that at all. We've seen it remain a very candidate-driven market. The challenge we have seen is candidates, due to cost of living and just the inflation rise globally, is candidates obviously looking for an increased salary when they're moving jobs, but the clients are getting squeezed due to the costs of they're running their business in hires. So they've been looking to try and obviously keep their costs at a level that works for them, while candidates have obviously been trying to make sure that they're able to increase their wages. So we have seen that squeeze that's made it more challenging at times, but it's still very much been a candidate-driven market, which they say is, having been through a number of downturns, we've never seen that dynamic remain the case.
Okay, we've got a question from Jessica, and perhaps I'll add to it. So she says, I've been certified in quality management, quality assurance, and I want to work in the UK. I live in Germany. I guess surrounding this question, people would like to know probably how to get in touch, who to get in touch with, probably around visas, how Brexit's affected that, and how easy or difficult it is to come over to the UK.
And that's for you for sure.
Oh, yeah, I was guessing this is going to fall on me. It's still pretty easy to actually move and work in other countries, whether it be a UK citizen going to Germany or vice versa. It's just the timeframes involved now and the costs involved have gone up. So there are a number of different visas that somebody can apply for to come to the UK and work. They would need sponsorship if they haven't got citizenship, any relation or any reason for that reason to come across. So either they'd come across on a spousal visa or they could be sponsored by a business. But that's not particularly hard. It's probably about a 12-week process before, well, depending on how efficient HMRC are, the government are at the time, but 12 to 15 odd weeks we find, and probably a few £1,000s for the process, but it's not that difficult to do. The harder part is probably finding an employer that wants to sponsor you. So you'd need to really be targeted on who you're approaching and have a fairly compelling reason why. So ideally it'd be a fairly niche skill or a niche industry that you're going to go to.
Okay. Christopher asks a question which we might have touched on already. So how is CQI recognition and certification factoring in hiring decisions? What are employees asking for in terms of certification of various quality roles? You did mention the CQI registration and certification being quite an important factor. I'll add to that a little bit. What about qualifications in terms of degrees and higher education?
Again, it's not something that is an essential when hiring. It's a good to have, and it does definitely support somebody that has got, for example, an engineering or a manufacturing degree of some sort or higher education. It's putting that theory to put into practice, really. So it's definitely beneficial. Again, it's just depending on the sector and the industries that you're working in, but generally, it's not something that's required. I think we all know that quality, again, a lot of people fall into quality, and it's experience is the main thing, really. And if you have a qualification to back you up, then excellent. It does definitely support your application.
Do you find the larger companies focus more on, obviously you got the day-to-day role, but then more on sort of the academics and CPDs and personal development generally?
My experience, no. Again, no. It's the same throughout.
Okay. So Adam asked a question. How about salaries for new entrants into quality, example, through apprenticeships?
Good question. Personally, I'm not involved in those types of positions, apprenticeship level. Yeah, to be honest with you, I would probably need to go away and have a look at that one, because it is not something that I'm involved with. I do have employers who do offer apprenticeships, mainly on the major projects like within nuclear. I find that there's a lot of apprenticeships around those areas, but I'm not directly involved with those types of hires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose if somebody's getting into the industry, like construction, for example, where I work, an HSQE apprenticeship would be quite handy, where you have a sort of a rotation and get good exposure to management systems and different parts of the business. Yeah,
I mean, it's something I would like to in the future develop on. Again, just bring it. I can help employers to find the people using the kind of soft skills that they're looking for in any kind of industry or degrees that would be relevant to their business. We're here to support those employers to find those types of candidates, using from soft skills to degrees to kind of education, and bringing them into their business. And then it's down to them to develop them if they think they're the right fit for the business. Would love to be involved in that, hopefully in the future.
Okay. Jessica asks another question. We know that companies will ask for specific management system experience or certifications. Do you come across people asking for Lean Six Sigma often, or specific skills in those areas?
I do, actually. Yeah, that's a good point. And again, alongside where I mentioned the lead auditor and membership, we do, that comes up quite frequently. So majority of that comes up within manufacturing settings. So using problem solving techniques, 8D, 5 Whys, just general lean methodology. And I would say that comes up quite a lot, actually. So it's very good. So a lot of people ask for that. It's not so much a deal breaker. And I find I'm seeing that more come into the construction industry as well now, using those tech tools and techniques in the construction industry as well. That's something that I have noticed over the years.
Chilla's asked a question dealing with HSQE, quality, environmental, so like grouping it together and splitting it up as we've discussed. Do you see people sort of with the quality background moving into HSQE roles without any experience and developing their careers that way? Or do employees generally want someone that's already had that experience?
So what was the question? Sorry, though. So if
someone's just purely quality or purely environmental focused, that's the experience, and they're looking to move, do employees, are they open to taking candidates with that sort of management system experience to find their feet with a wider role?
I would say, so somebody who's worked in quality or environmental, could they go into multidiscipline positions? So HSEQ, not something I really come across, if I'm completely honest. You'd like stick with one discipline and progress with that. And I think people that come in with HSEQ kind of usually find what they prefer doing. They usually pick up either the quality, environmental, or health and safety, and because they enjoy it mainly. That's what they enjoy doing, and then they go down that route.
Okay. In terms of salaries, do you see a difference between the grouped role versus sort of island roles? So in HSQE versus environmental specifically or quality specifically?
So the multidiscipline versus discipline. No, I don't see a comparison, but I do notice that they are definitely moving away. I think organisations that do have a multidiscipline team are slowly moving towards having a quality department. So they're splitting up those disciplines. I wouldn't say there's a difference in the QHSE manager to a quality manager, but what I will say is a quality, and this is from my day-to-day and my experience, I find that quality professionals generally get paid more than a health and safety and environmental.
From our data sets as well, quality had the highest average across sector compared to environment was in second place, and then health and safety was in third, essentially. It was three.
That's good to know the data.
They're within a couple thousand of each other on average. It's not like a massive difference, but quality was higher than the other two.
Okay, Jessica's got a question. We've got a couple more, almost done. But her question is to do with, I guess, back to certification. So she's asking, if you're looking for a niche kind of job, how would you see it in the job searches? So she's got LinkedIn certificates for Lean, Green Belt, Six Sigma. Are these recognized?
Within certification? Not something I come across. No, and it's not something that I'm asked for with certification roles. So working for a certification body, I would say they usually require lead auditor certificates, ideally in 9, 14 and 45. Also certification experience as well. So actually direct experience with certification, or if not, external audits as a minimum. So completing third party.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just one more question from me, really out of interest. I know some businesses have internal recruitment departments, and then you have businesses like yourselves. How does that dynamic play? Does it make a difference for people when they're applying to go directly to a company versus approaching someone like you who probably have more options for them?
The difference it makes no difference to the candidate as such. So if they apply to an internal company, they've gone direct, and then obviously, so my colleague Omar and I, we specialize purely within quality. An internal team will look in there. These will be like generalists, like recruiters. They'll be looking at a quality manager, but then can also be looking at maybe like a contracts manager alongside it. That's how that usually works. So we are bespoke for quality. So yes, we'll be. Once that internal recruiter cannot find somebody, then they'll basically come to us. And then alongside that, we have other opportunities that we work on purely within quality, naming some of the others there. Ben, do you want to add to that as well in terms of the there isn't really too much of a difference, I would say.
I guess the biggest difference you have on the most basic level is when you work with someone like us, ultimately we're working for you. So we have the client and we have the candidate, and it's got to be a good match on both sides. We looked at somebody applied for a role and we thought there were improvements they could make to their the layout of their CV, then we'd look to do that. We'd look to have a discussion with them. When we're dealing with a new requirement, we'll speak to the client. We'll look to understand the pain points, the impact it's having. We'll look to really understand that and can push back, challenge, ask questions. And so I guess in part, ultimately, we'd look to prepare a candidate far better for an interview. We'd like to give more of an insight rather than a piece of paper with job description and then invite you to come along for an interview. Because ultimately, I don't think it's a secret, our industry is one of the few industries that we do all the work for free unless we actually make there's a success at the end of it, which is quite rare. So it's very much in our interest to make sure that people are getting the best service on both sides. As I said, it's a candidate-driven market before. The candidate is really key, more than ever in this process. And then the only other difference I think you'd probably find is obviously an internal recruiter is a company, whereas we'll have insights and have an overview of a number of different companies. And 9 times out of 10, candidates may not even be looking for a role, and we would put them forward. They're what we call passive candidates. So we build a relationship with them. They say, look, if something like this ever comes across, please call me. I'm very happy where I am, but I'd love for this reason or that reason. And the clients do the same. These are the sort of things I'm always interested in. Let me know. So if you come and work with us, then yes, we'd put you forward and discuss that role. We'd also look to discuss any others that we think might be of interest. So probably just a lot more of an overview of the market as well.
All right. We've got two. I'm going to take the last 2 questions because I realize the time is running out. Lo asks, regarding quality role in construction, do you find that the role is taking on board more responsibilities other than quality assurance control, things like digitization, digital construction, handover, asset integration? Is it an evolving role? Is salary affected by this? Are you seeing more and more demands from the quality role?
Personally, no, but I do know that that is a hot topic, and I know that is something that the profession is facing. I think no, at this stage, I'm not coming across that. I'm not finding employers are asking for that experience. It's still the standard quality skills and techniques. I am not coming across that yet. Although I do know it's a hot topic, AI, digitalization, all of that. Handover slightly different. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose some of it, while it's not implied in the advertisements, it's implied that you keep up with the quality personal development as the industry and as the world moves with all these technologies. So I guess that would be expected. And then final question, Mark Lynch was a friend of mine. I've worked with him before. Would you have any opportunities or many opportunities in the Irish market? How's it looking up there?
Yes is the answer. We do. We've actually just recently, I didn't mention that on our, where we've expanded, we have opened up an office in Ireland. Now, we have done a lot of work with Ireland in the past, and we have decided to open up an office over there, obviously with Brexit and everything else as well that's played a part in that. And so we have opened up an office there, and we do have, if your friend would like, we can pass over the details of the person who'd be best to speak to for the Irish market. I would say our history is mainly within health and safety across there, but we are picking up quality work. And I think quality is quite different to quality in the UK, in Ireland. There's still a long way to go. But yes, that's probably, I would presume in the next 5 or so years, that's going to progress even further with just quality generally over there.
Okay. I suppose if anyone's got more questions, they can get in touch with Shirley Parsons directly.
Yes, please. I did actually have the last slide, which I haven't shared. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I was going to put the QR code up for anybody that wanted it. I don't know if you can see that or not. Sorry. Can you see that? Again.
No, not in there.
Okay. It's not to worry. If anybody wants the report, then by all means get in contact and we can give you a copy. It is on our website as well. Again, anybody that wants to talk about the market or looking at growing their teams, that will be with me. Anybody that's looking to make a career move will be Omar, so from the candidate perspective. And then Jordan, again, develops talent within teams and gets insights for your business. So he's the guy for that.